So one thing that I've noticed over the years in the credit repair space is that, most professionals don't really struggle because they don't know what the FCRA is, because you guys all know the law exists, right? You all know it. Where people really stuck, I think, is understanding how attorneys look at FCRA violations and more importantly, how they decide whether something is worth taking on as a case. So that's not something that most credit repair professionals are ever really taught in this industry. So a lot of time people assume that if a violation exists, an attorney will automatically want it. And that's not really how it works. So what I'm really excited tonight about for the session with Garrett from McCarthy Law, because he's going to walk you through how attorneys think about FCRA violations, what kind of evidence matters, and how cases are evaluated once they get to a paralegal in their office. Okay, so as you listen tonight, I want you to really pay attention to something, how very different this is going to sound from the way most of us were taught to actually look at credit reports. Okay, what I say repeatedly is this, that credit professionals are working real client files, right? We work real client files every day and that do contain legitimate FCRA violations. But most of us don't recognize them as attorney actionable because they're looking at the file more through a credit repair lens and not a legal one. So even with Credit Butterfly, which is the only software out there that identifies FCRA violations, most people are still only catching the obvious stuff that the software can automatically find. Okay, and obvious are not the only place where there's opportunity. So the other thing you're going to hear tonight is how much documentation and intake matter. Okay, a violation can be real, but if the intake wasn't done correctly, or the timeline isn't clear, or the evidence isn't organized the way attorneys need it, the case just doesn't go anywhere. Okay, that's not that most of you guys realize until you try to submit a case and it gets rejected. So by then, your problem was the violation when really it was the intake and it was the evidence collection. So there's a gap there between identifying a violation and preparing something an attorney will accept. And what you're about to hear from McCarthy Law will give you a really clear picture of how FCRA violations and evidence are evaluated on the legal side. Okay, which is a perspective that most credit repair professionals in this space never get. So we're really lucky and we're so excited that Garrett has agreed to come on. It's not easy to get the attorneys to come on and, spend it with us. So let's bring on Garrett. This is Garrett Charity. He's a partner with McCarthy Law. He's been there for 13 years. He's a member of both the California and the Texas bar, and he has an active Fair Credit Reporting Act practice. And he's been part of McCarthy Law since the first began filing FCRA lawsuits. So with no further ado, I will introduce Garrett. Take it away.
Hey everybody, thanks for having me and we'll jump right into it. I'm Garrett, I'm a partner with McCarthy Law here. Yes, we at McCarthy Law do finance litigation and in short, bread and butter of McCarthy Law's practice was negotiating debt out of bankruptcy, and what we found was when we were paying off those debts, the debt wasn't being reported accurately on those credit reports. So we got into the Fair Credit Reporting Act litigation really naturally, trying to help our clients finish the job of paying off their debts. They needed to get it reported accurately, so we started doing Fair Credit Reporting Act litigation. In short, under the Fair Credit Reporting Act, as you probably know, that the legal fees and costs are paid from the defendants. So in our, smallest, we have clients with not great damages or no damages, and they're getting statutory, recovery. We're paying out somewhere between $1,000 to $2,500 in damages. If we can work up a bigger damage profile with credit denials, maybe they were denied a mortgage, maybe they were denied a security clearance, then damages can, sky's the. We do offer a ton of support throughout the whole process and have a referral fee program. We do pay referral fees for cases that are actually going to file. So in tonight's presentation, I'm going to talk about some of our strongest cases, but I think the next slide is Well, so yeah, we talked about the referral fee program, but I did see that one coming up here. Let me see, well, I guess it comes up at the end, but I'll say this in general that the federal courts are making the bar higher and higher to get into this Fair Credit Reporting Act litigation in the way of injury in fact damages. So in all of our lawsuits, for instance, in all of my lawsuits, I have to put a blanket statement in that my client lost time and money trying to fix this credit reporting error. We have to present some sort of damage in our lawsuit to not get that lawsuit kicked out of court nowadays. If they have a credit denial, better. If they always will plead a damage of they had a credit chilling effect where they wanted to apply for credit and were scared to apply because of a negative remark on their credit. So in referring cases to attorneys, there is a nice thing that you could do, which is work up the injuries or damages. How has this, impacted? So some of our top FCRA violations, which are going to be at the top of your list as well, credit reports that show a balance due on a settled or paid account. That's where we got into the game, and this looks a lot of different ways. So when I bring a case, I need that settlement letter and I need payment confirmation, usually that looks like a ledger that it was paid. Sometimes I have a great letter or settled in full letter from the creditor that says, you settled this chase debt with us and now it's zero balance. That's great. Oftentimes we don't have, but we still will take those cases and if they can show us at least some sort of proof that they paid it, bank statements. And I can say even recently on those tri-merge accounts, if you have one credit one credit reporting agency, maybe Equifax shows a balance, but it's showing a paid and settled on Experian and TransUnion, I'll take that case because we will get into discovery with our defendants and we'll find out that that debt was paid in full and I'll get it in an evidence exchange. But showing that zero balance on two reports and one report is showing a balance, that is a case that we've been telling, which is a bit different. 1099-Cs, one coming up with tax season. This is really popular. So basically, if that debt has gone a long time and they zero balance out that debt and your client gets a 1099-C, which is a tax form that is zeroing out and canceling that debt, that's a case that we really enjoy here at McCarthy Law. There's some great things in the tax code that I can put into the complaint to show that that creditor made a decision to cancel that debt. And on our side too, I argue that the 1099-C obligates the consumer to pay an income tax on that debt. And why would that consumer be paying a tax on that debt and paying it back at the same time? It's a good slam dunk argument and lawsuit for me to sue on reports that still carry a balance of a trade line, but they've been issued a 1099-C cancellation of debt form. So something certainly to look out for with your consumers, especially during this tax season, because those 1099 cancellation of debts are coming out. Oh, and if anybody has questions during any of this, stop me. Let's make it interactive because I've been doing this for 13 years. I have a lot to say about everything.
So I have on this, the
Mhm.
1099-C, because I see this a lot when I'm like on social and people are talking about this. And I see people giving kind of bad, I don't know, where they're trying to go and get companies to give them a 1099-C that haven't done that yet. My personal view on that is like, no, if they issued one, great, use it, but don't be calling companies asking to get them because they do have to file taxes on these. What is your thoughts around that?
Yeah, I'd agree with that. In my practice, I haven't seen anything that makes a creditor more or less willing to issue one. They kind of happen sporadically. A lot happened with Discover. We'll see if that keeps happening because Discover was acquired by Capital One. One few years, Chase was issuing a ton of them. So it, kind of from creditor to creditor. But Discovery is the one that I've seen a lot from, and possibly there'll be a lot coming out this year. But
Yeah,
I
so that you can call them and ask them to issue one. That's just not the case. They're not going to issue 1099-Cs because you call and ask.
Yeah, nothing I've seen there. And guess I would do it if I could, because this is fees are paid by the defendant, so we would
I
love.
know these are easy ones.
Yeah, yeah, we would love that.
Um, so Abel had a question too. He wanted to know, can you give some more examples of damages besides getting denied for credit due to the violation?
Sure. So I'll just talk about some of the cases on my desk. One big one was they did a credit check for a job, and the job gave them some trouble with their with the hiring because of credit reporting errors or things that were reporting negatively on their credit report. If you have a client that actually paid for therapy or paid, they had this, great. If I have a receipt from a therapist, if I have a receipt from mental illness is a hard injury. Uh, Sometimes if it has a spouse, that helps. So if a spouse is willing to put together an affidavit and say, my wife isn't enjoying life as much as she was, and the things that usually give her joy aren't giving her joy because she's upset about this credit card debt that isn't being reported properly. That's excellent. That helps quite a bit. But the bread and butter damages are credit report, credit denial, and I need that to be pretty specific in court. So I coach my clients to ask for the reason for the denial and make sure that it's under a credit reporting agency that we're actually suing. They needed to use that Experian report if we're suing Experian. Mortgages are the big one. If someone was denied a mortgage, that's a
Um, you're trying to do a bank statement loan for her?
yeah, there you go. So then other examples of damages that are ones that will just get me over the hurdle are simply money paid to a credit repair agency to fix their credit. So, if your consumers are paying for their services, this done, that's a damage that should be recoverable, and that helps me just at least qualify the case.
Oh my
To
God, we're
go,
like damages.
yeah, fees are damages, yeah. Um, but those are the bread and butter damages if it comes in with nothing, with denials, then they at least had a credit chilling effect. They'd stopped applying for credit because of this error, or they spent time and money to prepare this lawsuit, talking to me, talking to their credit repair agency to get this off their credit report. So that'll at least help me get it into court. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like the chilling effect happens a lot where they can't get what they're trying to do,
Yeah.
for sure. And they're just not even able to apply.
And
I
what
see that a lot.
Right. And what I'm saying is that you do have, I think we're in a very consumer friendly, now I don't know if it ever was, but I do know the federal courts also, when I go in to litigate these cases, the judges are trying federal crimes. The one I walked into had a Walmart suit for $100 million.
Oh,
So
wow.
sometimes they're not giving your cases the time and attention they deserve because they have federal criminals they have to prosecute. So you do want to make your case as important as possible to have the judge take it seriously as well. And I think that's why there have been some rulings out that are coming out that have been ratcheting up the ratcheting up we need to get those lawsuits into federal court. Yeah. Duplicate accounts are common. I file a lot of these lately, especially with con and debt buyers that LV&V buys a lot of debt, but any debt buyers that you see on a credit report, it'd be a great check to see if their original creditor is also on the credit report. For whatever reason, I have a ton of these on my desk right now. I filed one recently against Navient, actually, which was a more standard duplicate account. The same account numbers are reporting twice with the same exact balance. My client only has one debt with them. So we're suing Navient and the credit repair agencies to get that duplicate out. I'm writing one today where Credit One sells a lot of their debt to Navient. I have a few other original creditors that sells the LV&V. I have a few other original creditors that sell their debt to LV&V. And there's often these duplicate reporting on their credit reports where it's raising their debt to income ratio. It's showing that they're carrying than they really have. That's a great lawsuit for me to get that original creditor off the credit report and file a lawsuit against that original creditor because they aren't obligated to pay that original creditor anymore. I'll go so far as suing if they've just assigned to a collector as well. I've had some success there for sure, where if an original creditor has assigned a debt to a collection agency and both of them are reporting on the credit report, then I'll sue that original creditor to get it off there because it's false that paying that original creditor is the way to get that debt off their credit report. They want you to pay the collector who they assigned it to. So that's a false and misleading allegation that I will file a lawsuit on.
So,
I don't mean to
we have a
interrupt.
that came into the chat, Garrett. So is the original creditor not supposed to have a balance, or are they not supposed to be on there at all?
Not supposed to have a balance. We wouldn't file if it was a zero balance, but if the balance on there, that's when we have an actionable lawsuit. So if it's reporting zero balance, no, we don't have a lawsuit there.
So the cool thing, you guys, is that Credit Butterfly, so we see these all the time. Credit Butterfly, our software, actually automatically finds all the duplicate accounts and all of the furnishers and debt buyers reporting a balance. It's just automatically. So we see tons of those. You're right. Those one of the most popular between this and settled or paid in full accounts that were never updated. I think those are like the three, and debt buyer and both reporting a balance. Definitely the most that we see on a daily basis.
I got a question. Just going back to damages again, real quick. Just for example, like I get a client that signs up today, and there are no damages, but I kind of to maybe apply for credit and get denied. Like,
You
how
can
how
do
far
that.
away the denial have to be? That's basically the question. How far away does?
So you can do that. I can't do that.
No,
So
I
that's
know.
kind of the line between the lawyers and the credit repair agents that we see all the time. Actually, many lawyers have gotten in trouble for having their clients and go out and apply for mortgages or this sort of thing
Yeah.
with no errors on the report. However, you guys can certainly do that. And you send a stronger lawsuit in that would have higher damage rewards for them when you send it to a lawyer. But I can only say to clients, apply for the credit you need as you would need it, like everything was normal. I can't say go out there and run up your damages.
Yeah, no, I'm not gonna say.
Yeah, and I mean, we're not in the business of
guidance too.
manufacturing cases either.
Yeah.
No, like a guide, just to because, some people have credit and then they get denied and then they come to the credit repair right away.
Right. And it's a question because it's something that definitely comes up. And lawyers have like these thriving practices get all these huge damage awards all the time, and then they're flagged. The bars start looking into them, the judges start looking into them, and they got in trouble for that. So, but it is, on our land do that.
Yeah. No, I know. I just wanted to make sure, like.
Thank you so much for asking that. I'll continue. These are
Garrett, I'm going to interrupt. Jessica wants to know, can we add you as an attorney in ongoing arbitration good cases? So a lot of our professionals these days do arbitration on their own. And so that's what I think she's referring to.
I can't say we've subbed in to one of those. It's something I'd have to talk to you a little bit later about. I can't say subbed in later on an arbitration. We really don't like arbitrations a lot of times. We do like federal court. I can say that for an arbitration, I have a compel that I'm going to oppose probably this week. And my argument is that, their arbitration covered things that were in the agreement, not things outside of the agreement or extraneous like this Fair Credit Reporting Act litigation. So, we tend to stay away because it's kind of wonky where we kind of like staying in. But, it's speaking about on the side, and I can see if the firm was interested in subbing in on specific, if you had cases that were strong. Yeah, but that would be the answer there. But do I do it? Sure. When they have a really good arbitration clause, yeah, we have arbitration and we'll fight the case there. Generally, these things settle. Okay, I'll keep going. Your ID theft or mixed file cases, so unknown accounts reporting on the credit reports. The easiest, lowest bar is if you get me a Federal Trade Commission ID theft report that I can, that's a dispute letter, then I can go for it. Do I file mixed file cases if in the dispute letter someone says, this auto is the same name as my mom, and I think you're mixing my file with my mom's account. I need you to investigate this and take it off, and they don't take it off. Will I file that case with a strong dispute letter? Yes. The one that's weaker is if I get a dispute letter that says, this isn't mine, you investigate it and take it off, but they didn't file an ID theft report, or they didn't maybe allege it was a mixed file or something of that sort. That makes it a bit harder to, just file. Generally, at our law firm, we'll do a redispute and have them do an FTC ID theft complaint to get it off there. And then dispute letter with the attached FTC complaint and then file after that if they still don't take it off. Now, some people come with a police report. Great. It's, more rare. The case right now I have against Chase, where I'm having the client file a police report during the litigation because it's just going so long and we're really litigating it. And I want him to be able to, do a dose that he did file a police report on this. But it's not for me to take the case. But FTC ID theft complaint, that is pretty standard for me to take an ID theft case.
Okay, and then Marquita to know what happened to number 4.
Yeah, I probably took it out, but I into this actually because others that, and I have another list and a few others that I like. I did of our cases coming into this presentation and just coming into the new year. We reviewed our cases from last year. Late payments are a big one. 10% of our cases were late payments, which I didn't really know how many we did. Now, certainly I file these all the time. They look like a lot of different things. So I probably have 3 on my desk right now that I maybe worked with recently. One was auto payments. They had auto payments set up that they canceled. And for whatever reason, the creditor canceled their auto payments and drove them into a late payment status. I'll file that case. Those late payments that are reporting on their credit report are not indicative of their credit worthiness. That creditor did that. So I'll file that. Another one was they had a great ledger of their payments. They made some extra payments that were miscalculated, and payments appeared on the credit report, and I'm filing that. I filed that one. I'm litigating that one now. We're in discovery. They're reviewing my evidence that the payments weren't late.
Was that a student one, Garrett?
No, it's actually a weird one. It's a
Because I had a case like that they made all those extras and they were saying they were late.
Now that you say student loan, no, this one was Lending Point. This is Lending Point. It was yeah. And then I have the creditor changed addresses. They had auto checks going out and they were sending their checks to a PO box that was not being checked anymore, and the creditor dinged them for a late payment, but they didn't give them notice of their change of address. So that's a case I'll file too. But yeah, late payments do come up in a lot of different instances, and that's a strong case for me.
Okay, I have a few questions, and Connie's raised her hand, so I'm going to go to the chat real quick. Tyree said, how does the statute of limitations apply? Do they have to run out prior to disputing or litigating?
It starts when they know it. So when you notice the error, you have to act on it. So so that's how the judge it on notice. So you don't have to run out and start litigating, but I don't look that up. I believe it's 2 years, but you do need, as soon as you notice the error, you need to take action on it.
Okay, and then we have a question that says, does this also go personal information reporting, or does it need to be attached to a trade line that is reporting?
So I do file some of those, but the issue is, of course, damages. So there are times when and the usually the metric that error lower the credit score or cause some other damage that we can point to. And that's kind of what's coming up with the judges now, where it's not just and then the reason I say judges is because we always ask for a jury, but when you file a case, they can file a motion to dismiss the case. And that's where a lot of this new law is coming from, where you have the creditors and you have Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax filing motion to dismiss motions saying that there's no injury in fact in this case, and we have to dismiss it. Some of that has with authorized user cases. We used to file a bunch of those saying, this credit reporting act is not indicative of my activity. I want this off my credit report. And then they started filing motion to dismiss saying, this credit activity is great. It does nothing but help you. Those judges aren't going to be sympathetic to my opposition motion saying, well, it's wrong and it violates the law and I want it out there. And that's kind of what we're dealing with, where you have the blanket letter law, but we're dealing with kind of old curmudgeon federal and what we say in the law all the time is, it's not the law that's the law. It's whatever the judge says is the law is the law. That's kind of where with taking any case where, yes, any error is actionable under the Fair Credit Reporting Act, but if it lowers the credit score or if you can give me some injury that it made to the client. Okay, so for instance, I have one that I week where she has old addresses on her credit report, or just the wrong address. That was her, and that address was not corrected. Generally, that's not a huge error. Okay, your addresses where you call them, have them fix the address, but they didn't fix the address. And she had certain important pieces of mail that went to the wrong address, which happened to be someone that did not like her. And they would throw away her mail and cause her. That's a good case because I have a very clear damage of what this error was doing to that consumer. So every error, if you can put a good damage on it that connects it to that error, is what I'll say.
Yeah, that's an excellent example of damages.
Mhm.
That's a really good example. So Connie, go ahead. What's your question?
All right, can we go back a little bit to that student loan and the late? Like how can you with because I see the loans coming out with like number 6 all across. I'm not sure what that means, but it's crazy stuff on student
Yeah,
loans.
on that one, I'm going to refer you. I know what you're referring to on that, Connie, and I'll let Garrett answer that too. But those are people that just haven't paid and they're late, or they're already defaulted, or just late because they started paying their student loans again. I actually created a whole bunch of guides, and I'll send it to you, Connie. I don't know if you got it from last week. I created all the guides to help you work that out and get those lates actually removed by getting them either back into forbearance or do the
Yeah, that I was in last week, yeah, but I didn't get
yeah,
it
so
done.
that's this. But Garrett, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, if we have paperwork, I can tell you that the law's the wild, wild west sometimes. I can tell you that I've sued the Department of Education a few times because they discharged a loan or they made the consumer that they didn't have to pay it, or they were in forbearance, or they had discharged a loan and then the balance still reports, or it goes to a student loan servicer who reports a balance. And this certainly does happen. So it just depends on what paperwork we have to legitimize the error. And it's looked a lot of different ways for me. It's been discharge paperwork, or it's been forbearance paperwork. They showed me something that says that this shouldn't have been, an active repayment and reporting late now. They do make mistakes, and they do have ways to fix those mistakes.
Yeah, I actually have one on a student loan right now. I'm just waiting for them um to come back. So it's one where it was discharged under the defense, right? And a discharge has the letter. I have the proof. It's supposed to be zero balance. It's a full year old now, and they never updated the balance. And his credit reports are still reporting $71,000, which is a huge impacting his debt to income ratio. So for him to go apply for anything, it
Yeah,
hugely affects that. And
yeah,
that's a full year old. So I'm just waiting for that to come back. But that's a good student one that I just came across.
yeah, good one. And another one I, didn't talk about, bankruptcies are a big one. We do a lot of work with bankruptcy lawyers where they have had their debt discharged in a Chapter 7 bankruptcy, and yet a balance still reports. So we litigate all the time. It does happen. Probably, yeah, maybe one of those referrals every other month. Yeah, but they do certainly happen. I know I had one that I wrote this month, for instance, on a bankruptcy. And I did make a lot of other ones that weren't in the official McCarthy here. I'll tell you some weird ones that have happened. I have had reported deceased on their credit reports, and they're not deceased, and they fail to correct that error. And obviously, if you're being reported deceased, you're not going to get credit extended to you. So that's been one that's come a couple times for me. I've had a few report not report, or report no information for important things. So I've come across a couple blank credit reports, or credit reports that were a tremendous amount of information that was on the other credit reports. So, and that was hurting them away. So maybe it was reporting positive information that you see maybe on the tri-merge account, that you see there's some information reporting on the other two reports that's not reporting on the third report. That could be something that's causing someone damage. Foreclosures I've seen that are either reporting or not reporting. If you could get to a damage to me, for me, that's great. And I've had, many different examples of other kinds of wrong information that has caused someone to damage. could be a wrong. That was the difference. Someone being 18 or not. I've had different names that were problematic because someone was a junior, senior, or someone had a different middle name than their father, and their father was given something that was the son's issue or those situations. So I've had some of those. But in general, as I said earlier, if you have an error and you can work up with your client how that error has injured them, then I have a case.
Awesome. So we have another question from Deontay that said, do you have to be in a certain state for us to refer clients to you, or are you able to work in all states?
All 50 states. A presence with lawyers that work for an off-counsel attorney in all 50 states, and we'll take the case.
And you guys know I've worked with these guys for as long as
You went on mute.
I've worked with them as long as they have been doing FCRA violations. They're very good. Almost all of my cases go through.
And I'll talk you some of the process a bit. It is a bit cumbersome in federal litigation. We work up the lawsuit, we get the okay from the client. We have a legal rule that we need to show them their complaint, and they need to they need to okay it in writing. Oftentimes, we just do that over email. And then we send that out to process servers who then take some time to serve each defendant. And then generally there's, a professional courtesy where doing their initial investigation into our allegations of the lawsuit, they will often ask for an extension. So I'm just letting you know that when you send these clients over, there's generally about a 90-day buffer period before I get a solid response to my opening demand of the lawsuit. It is a bit longer because of now, some of these organizations are just really big. They have to take time to find the lawsuit and get their paperwork. I can tell you Experian generally, once they get a lawsuit, I mean, they still took days to pull their records and do their investigation. And that's after process servers. So just letting you know, it takes a bit of time. Once they start mixing it up, we see exactly what this is going to be made of. If I have good damages, then it's going to be a little bit longer because I'm going to have to prove to them those damages generally in a period called discovery where we do evidence exchange. So we'll show them what those damages are to legitimize our settlement offers and our demands to them. And then sometimes they'll settle, sometimes they'll go through some more back and forth with us and fighting. But just letting you know that, federal litigation takes a bit of time. Now, other times,
Okay.
sometimes it settles, but just letting you know kind of the
Abel would like to know which is the preference as far as credit reports, such as credit reports from annualcreditreport.com or a tri-merge credit report from a monitoring company. I think a lot of times we hear a lot in the space because all credit repair pretty much use a monitoring company credit report for the most part. So I think a lot of times you'll get some people that are like, oh, my attorneys won't accept anything but annual. And then I turn around and tell them, well, McCarthy takes the credit monitoring way.
And here's what we're doing with those, which is super important. The dates on those credit monitoring reports are very important. And I've run into trouble here sometimes where someone thinks they have a great suit and they send me a tri-merge report or a credit monitoring report, but you have to look at the top of that credit report and see the date it was pulled, because dates mean everything when we're sending out a dispute letter. If that date that credit was pulled is old, maybe it could be your dispute letters. And we're going, but you're seeing that report as you looked at it today. Oh, great. I have a credit report. It's still showing my error. I have a case. So a lot of the lawyers like the annual credit reports because it's so clear when the date was pulled there, where those tri-merge reports, it's a little bit, I got to look for it. I got to look all over. And I would say in your practices, when you use those composite reports, do a really good thorough scan of that page and make sure that the date you think it is the date that report is reporting it was pulled.
Thank you. That's actually good because a lot of times that's true. Like when you're compiling a file, you've got to be looking at, you got to make sure you have your credit report you pulled first, right? With the accurate, okay date, create your dispute, let it go enough time, refresh that credit report, make sure at least 30, days or more has gone, and then have that to show that the error is still there, to obviously, credit butterfly that you guys.
That's great. That's great. Yeah, I couldn't tell me McCarthy that slipped through the cracks, and I look at the post-dispute reporting, And the post dispute reporting isn't after 30 days after the dispute. It's before the dispute, or it's, just
Yeah.
within the time period. Then if you farther and you follow file those career agencies are on it immediately. They're like, yeah, or we change this 15 days after I don't know why you don't see that, and then it comes out. So
Awesome. And then you guys, just so you know, I uploaded just on the chat, I uploaded all 3 student loan cheat sheets for rehabilitation, default status, all that kind of stuff for you guys for your student loans, which has nothing to do with today's presentation, but people were asking.
And I don't have much more in this. I'll just go over some quick things. We litigate any factual error that lower the credit scores or cause denials. But as I elaborated on that earlier, if you can give me a story, I can that case. In our process, our client journey generally with the credit repair agency. They're identifying the errors. They're doing the client outreach. Once they see that we have something actionable to file a lawsuit on, we usually have a portal through our affiliates, just a website you can put that client information into, and you'll hand it off to us. We'll review it for litigation. We'll file that lawsuit. Because we get paid from the defendants, we advance all the costs, and they're not cheap. In California, for instance, I have to pay for my state license, and then that gets you into the federal courts, of which there are 4, which we pay licenses for, and then we have to pay those process servers. We pay the filing fee. So we advance all to get these lawsuits going, and then the resolution, we get paid out our legal fees from the settlement. We get the client damages, and everybody walks away happy. And it's a great process because sometimes a lot of just finding free money from something that they didn't even think was a big deal. And free money was really nice actually very recently over the Christmas holidays. So.
Oh yeah, it's amazing, you guys. Like, it's the best thing because your clients love you. Like they hire you for care and you're getting them money. Like they positively love it. I had a really good question. Do they defend debt once a client has been served with a lawsuit? I even want to know the answer to that because obviously we all know right now everyone's getting sued. Everybody. So
Yes,
it's a crazy lawsuit frenzy out there in the credit
it is.
repair world.
And yeah, that's the bread and butter of our business is negotiating debt, litigating debt outside of bankruptcy. So that's how we got into this, where we were taking on all those creditor lawsuits for consumers and negotiating their debt, defending those lawsuits, and then getting settlements and paying them off. And then when the balance wasn't reporting right, we did FCRA. But that's the bread and butter of McCarthy Law, which is consumer debt defense outside of bankruptcy.
Okay, so when somebody gets, we can just go ahead and refer them over to you.
Yeah, refer them to us. Obviously, it's a different payment structure from the Fair Credit Reporting Act because now I'll say many different things there. We only take just like this part of practice where we're taking the slam dunk good ones. We also take the slam dunk good ones for settlement as well. If they're sued by someone that we can't settle with, we'll just tell them we're not taking any tries. And the issue is that they're going to pay for this. Generally, in that side of our business, we're taking ones that settle between like 40 and 60%. So that client is paying a legal fee on top of it. They're not paying 100% of their debt back is here. So, we're trying to creditors that settle low enough so it makes sense for them paying for legal work to defend this lawsuit. Because the unfortunate many parts of the country is it's just not cheap. You have to, even for instance, got to pay to file your answer fees. You got to, there's even sued a lot when you get sued, from a creditor, you might have to be hit with a $450 fee just to answer your lawsuit. So so it varies state, but the short answer is yes.
Okay, a couple more questions that I missed. Robin asked, what's the best scoring model to use when reviewing a full credit profile?
And yeah, maybe help me out a bit.
I don't think this is really a question so much for Garrett. So what you're talking about here is, so all of the scoring, the credit monitoring, they're all going to be giving you Vantage 3.0. That's pretty much what you're getting. Credit Karma is 3.0, Vantage 3.0, all the credit monitoring, except for My Score IQ, which is a identity IQ product. They do give you FICO 8 with one mortgage score of FICO 2 inside of the platform, which is good if you work with a lot of lenders and things like that. So the thing is, there's no best scoring model. They're all different. There's a lot of different scoring models and they all have a place because they're used for different things. So, but if you're working with a lot of people with mortgages, they're going off 4 and 5. So you just have to learn the different scoring models. I do have classes on that. I will probably do that class again here very soon to go over all the different scoring models so you'll better understand that as well. And I'm pretty sure if you go visit our YouTube, which is the @credit butterfly, on YouTube, I'm pretty sure we have a video up on scoring models. Raylene would like to know, Garrett, what's the biggest case you ever took? So
Sure.
how much you guys win on these things? That's what we really want to know, right? Like on big cases.
My case on my desk right now is I have a client who was denied how much was her? She was denied $1 million mortgage trying to refi. And I'm gonna stop share to put my information in the chat eventually. But yeah, she was denied $1 million mortgage to refi. So my demands to all three credit repair agencies and Discover, who it is, are all in the six figures. I think Discover's she had 4 student Discover loans that are ID theft that they did eventually take off her credit report. And then they put them back on her credit report, which was a problem
Wow.
because she thought they were going to come off. And then she applied for her mortgages and then the adverse information was back on there. So I think my opening demand to Discover there was $350,000. And I think I'm in the $100 to $200 range in each of the credit reporting agencies to get her some on that mortgage denial, which was a bigger mortgage denial, and she has all kind of other great information. Mortgage rates went up, and broker has good. She was denied her underwriting and the money she missed out if it would have been applied at that. If she would have been accepted that credit offer at that point versus now, so they can be high. And
Yeah, that's
the industry,
huge.
they can go to the millions.
What's average?
Low because most people don't have the garden variety cases. Most clients don't have a credit denial. They found something on a quick whim, and they're going to get 2,500. However, we always are on the lookout for trial cases, is what we call them, cases that we're going to take
Yeah.
to trial.
So what do
And
they get on the bigger cases?
sure, it just depends.
Do they get
Well,
like a percentage? Do you take your fees? Like how does that? We really don't know.
great question, and it's always individual. So if it goes all the way to a trial, then we're, calculating our legal submit to the court, and whatever the legal fees are will be paid out by the defendant, and then a damage award will be offered to the client. And it depends on that particular client. So yes, we do fee splits with them, and we'll say what our legal fees are up to this point, and give them that number, and then they'll take home the rest. So it's always a case basis, and it's not so much a percentage versus we have to be because it's a code violation legal fee because our fees are written into the code. We're constantly keeping hourly tracking of our fees on the cases in case we have to submit that to the court. So that's kind of how it actually works out. And I try to
Okay.
go for as much damages as the defendant will pay out.
Well,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, and then the client has for litigation is a big deal too. Do they want to have depositions? Do they want me to be constantly bothering them for information and paperwork? Some clients are, I'm happy with this number and I want to get out of this. And I know we could get more if I sat for a 7-hour deposition from all three defendants. That would be, but some people just want to move on. So it depends.
We got some really, especially on damages. That was just amazing what you shared.
Yeah, I'm happy to tell you because it's, sometimes you don't get to know like how the sausage is made. So I'm happy to tell you exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, didn't that able? I think damage is the hardest thing for people to understand. Great. Garrett's got all his information in there. Raylene, you said I one more. Do you have one more question?
Yes.
Yeah,
Quick,
go ahead. Ask it.
quick question. We actually are do the affiliate link so that you all. However, if we need to update that the email address, how go about doing that? Do we need to do another affiliate link or?
No, I would say just talk to Ian. I'm going to send you Ian's email right now. Ian will help you right here
Okay.
with the chat.
Thank
And
you.
Ian's
Yeah,
email
over
care report.
McCarthy. I have to tell you, I have been dealing with these guys for many, many, many years and always on top of it. They're amazing. They do a great job on cases. I have never, ever had a client or upset with them. And I can tell you that before them, I used someone else. I won't name names, but he was in Arizona too. And yeah, horrible, horrible experience. My call screaming at me like, and they were screaming. So they're just very professional at McCarthy.
Thank you for saying that. And we do, like I said, do try to take the cases where we know we can make the clients happy. We're not just doing money grabs trying to get every case.
I really appreciate you on, Garrett. You were amazing. You gave us so much good information.